Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Gilliland, and I want to go through how to put tabs in your binder today and introduce you to your training manual. Right now, your training manual probably looks something like this, okay, with no tabs in the section. You also received in your box is you received some sticky notes. If they weren't cut in half, you probably are going to want to cut them in half, so you've got about 12 or 14 different tab markers that you can use. Because the idea is I want your manual to end up looking like this, because this will help you to be able to find things much more easily during the training. So here's the table of contents. All of the titles that we're going to put on these tabs are the same as the section headers in your table of contents, all right? Some people even take this out so when they're putting the tabs in, they know exactly where they go. But I'm going to go through this with you visually right now to make it easier. If I'm going too fast, just pause the video until you find that spot and put your tab in, okay? So the way the table of contents works is that Douna's given us a structure for their manual, and I'm allowed to add things to those topics. So they've already pre-organized it for us. So the first section you can see here is called Introduction to Labor Support. And all of Douna's handouts are there in section 1, and then they're given a number. Section 1.1, what is a doula? Section 1.2, labor support by doulas, midwives, etc. And then you can see that I've added a handout about patient expectations and nurses' realities, and that's section 1, but it's letter A. So when I've added something, it has an alphabet letter after it. You'll also see that it's in a different font here in the table of contents. So let's go through each one of these sections, and I'll show you visually where to put your tabs. Okay? So the first section is called Introduction to Labor Support. And for myself, I've added some colored sheets because it's easier for me in the training to find each one of the sections, but you don't need to do that. I'm just pointing out why my manual might look different than yours. So the first one here is called Introduction to Labor Support. So that's where you're going to put number 1. And that is just one big chunk. So after section 1 comes section 2, which is called Doula International. And that is going to start with a handout here that says Doula International. So you see the logo up there. Okay? So, and then section 3, so you can see the Doula chunk has got about 25 pages. And then section 3 is subdivided into 3 separate sections. The first one is called Prenatal Visits. So this is all about prenatal visits, and it starts with the Doula handout, okay, with the Doula header, and it says prenatal support and doula business. But doula business is a separate section. So this one is just prenatal visits, okay? And the prenatal visit section is, once again, a pretty significant chunk, about 20 pages. And then the next part of that is called birth planning. So Doula only included one handout on birth planning, which is Penny Simpkins' Win-Win Birth Plan. It's a 2-page essay. And so this section starts the birth planning section. And I've added another, 8 or 10 pages on top of that. So that is your birth planning section. And that, then the one that begins it next is the business section. So once again, we're still in section 3 because Doula put these 3 topics together. So this one starts with a wonderful Doula handout called The Business Side of Being a Doula by Patty Brennan. So this is the beginning of section 3, business planning. Okay? So, and then after you found that, another big chunk there of about 20 pages, and then it's going to become section 4. Section 4 is divided into two separate pieces. The first one is the Doula section on communication and culture. And then that's got about, about 8 pages, 8 or 10 pages. And then I've added a section called Working with Your Client's Medical Team. Once again, all of these headers are on the table of contents, so you can see what they look like. And this one starts with a handout called What Kind of an Advocate Are You? So with this little quiz. And so there is section 4, divided into those 2 parts. So this is our Doulaing the Doula section, Working with Your Client's Medical Team. A nice thick chunk of about 12 pages. The next 2 sections are really easy. The first one is called Support During Labor. This is section 5. So this starts there with the donor handout that says Support During Labor, okay, with their header. The next section after that is section 6, which is called Comfort Measures. Once again, this one starts with the donor header that says Comfort Measures on it. And chapter 6 is once again one big chunk. When we get to section 7 is divided into 3 separate parts. The first part is just called Challenging Childbirth. And so this starts with the donor header page called Challenging Childbirth. And that's about 10, 12 pages. And then begins the epidural section. The epidural section starts with a donor handout that's called How an Epidural is Given. So this is the beginning of the epidural section. And this is another significant chunk, 12, 15 pages. Then after that, once again, section 7, part C, this is called Cesarean and VBAC. And this starts with a handout that has the words childbirth connection at the top and this photo. Okay, so it's very unique, easy to find. And this is Cesarean and VBAC, helping people prepare for a subsequent birth. End of section 7, we come to section 8, which is called the newborn. All right, and once again, this just stands on its own, and that's just a few pages. After that is section 9, which is on postpartum. Okay, so and there is section 9 in your binder, and once again, a nice good chunk of about 20 pages. And then after section 9 is section 10, which is called the appendix. And the appendix is full of support articles for you. One of the first ones in there is Just Another Day in a Woman's Life, which is the research that we're going to talk about at Introduction to Labor Support. Following that, DONA has their white papers on their position papers that are research-based on birth doulas and on postpartum doulas. After that is the executive summary for hormonal childbearing. And this is written by Dr. Sarah Buckley. And it's, here we go. And this is really worthwhile reading for you because hormones play a huge part in people's labor behaviors. And the more deeply we understand how people's hormones influence how they behave, the better we can be at labor support. So we'll talk about that in the doula training, but I wanted to point out to you that you have this background article in here for you. Also, you'll hear me talking about medical anthropology at one point in the doula training and talking about the different perspectives that medical people have and that one, and what are we really doing as a society. And the background article for that is called The Ritual Purpose of Hospital Birth, which is right here, and it looks like this. So I want to point out to you that I have background reading in here on that. And that is followed by your PowerPoint slides. So any slides that I use that have information on them for you are here in the back, and you can take them out and write notes on it. And that's it. So I hope you've gotten excited. I hope there's some fun things, and you're thinking, oh, I can hardly wait till we cover that. Thank you, and I hope you have fun paginating your binder.